Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parishara Stotra Satya Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 3, Chapter number 15. Titled Description of the Kingdom of God. Text number 40. Pitam sukhe pritunitam vinivispurantya. Pitam sukhe pritunitam vinivispurantya. Kanchya libir virutaya vanamalaya cha. Kanchya libir virutaya vanamalaya cha. Valgu prakosta valayam vinata sutam se. Valgu prakosta valayam vinata sutamste. Vinyasta hastam itarena dhunanam abjam. Vinyasta hastam itarena dhunanam abjam. Pitam sukhe pritunitam vinivispurantya. Kanya libir virutaya vanamalaya cha. Valgu prakosta valayam vinata sutamse. Vinyasta hastam itarena dhunanam abjam. Pitam sukhe pritunitam vinivispurantya. Kancha libir virutaya vanamalaya cha. Valgu prakosta valayam vinata sutamse. Vinyasta hastam itarena dhunanam abjam.
Vinyasta hasta vitarena dunana vabjam. Hitam shuke pritunitam vinivishpurantya. Kachari virudaya vanamadhayacha. Valgu prakoshta valayam vinatasutamse.
Word for word translation. Pita Amsuke, covered with a yellow cloth. Pritu Nitambini, on his large hips. Vispurancha, shining brightly. Kancha, with the girdle. Alibi, by the bees. Virutaya, humming. Vanamalaya, with a garland of fresh flowers. Cha, and. Valgu, lovely. Prakosta, wrists. Valayam, bracelets. Vinata Sutta, of Garuda, the son of Vinata. Amse, on the shoulder. Vinyasta, rested. Hastam, one hand. Itarena, with another hand. Dhunanam, being twirled. Abjam, a lotus flower. Translations purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. He was adorned with a girdle that shone brightly on the yellow cloth covering his large hips, and he wore a garland of fresh flowers, which was distinguished by humming bees. His lovely wrists were graced with bracelets, and he rested one of his hands on the shoulder of Garuda, his carrier, and twirled a lotus with another hand. Purport. Here is a full description of the personality of Godhead as personally experienced by the sages. The Lord's personal body was covered with yellow robes, and his waist was thin. In Vaikuntha, whenever there is a flower garland on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or any one of his associates, it is described that the humming bees are there. All these features were very beautiful and attractive for the devotees. One of the Lord's hands rested on his carrier Garuda, and in another hand he twirled a lotus flower. These are personal characteristics of the personality of Godhead, Narayana. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksumritam Yena Tasmei Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you everyone for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class today. We're continuing our discussion from the 15th chapter of 3rd canto titled Description of the Kingdom of God. So we're just at the scene where Vishnu is entering the scene, where the four Kumaras have been offended by Jay and Vijay, and the four Kumaras are about to curse Jay and Vijay. At this time, Lord Narayan, understanding what's about to happen, comes to the rescue to pacify the situation. And yesterday, Rajnath Prabhu, he was giving a very nice class. In yesterday's purport, Prabhupada mentioned a lot of nice points. And Rajnath Prabhu was explaining how in this situation we're seeing two groups of devotees having a clash or a disagreement or some misunderstanding. And Prabhu was saying that none of them intended to offend each other or have a fight with each other. The four Kumaras, they weren't coming to Vaikuntha to curse someone or to get into a fight with anyone. They were just coming because they smelt the wonderful fragrance of the tulsi leaves offered at the Lord's feet. So the four Kumaras were coming for a divine purpose, and same with Jay and Vijay. They didn't wake up in the morning thinking, okay, today we're going to, went out of rage or anger at someone, today we're going to offend someone. But it just happened, this whole situation. And if we look at the personalities on both sides, on one side we have Jay and Vijay, who are both eternal associates of the Lord. On the other side we have the four Kumaras, who are also no ordinary personalities. They are the sons of Brahma. They are also said to be Sakya Vesh avatars of the Lord, empowered with Jnana Shakti. And also entire Vaishnava Sampradaya is based off the four Kumaras. So on both sides we're seeing two completely super elevated Paramahamsa devotees of the Lord. On one side, eternal liberated associates of Lord, Jay and Vijay. On the other side, we have four personalities who are Saktavesh avatars of the Lord, four personalities who are directly the sons of Brahma, the oldest persons in the universe, and we have four personalities who are the head or the leaders of the whole Vaishnava Sampradaya. So on either side, both of the personalities are exalted. And if we look at the location where the misunderstanding happens, it doesn't happen in Kali Yuga, in Marchaloka, but it happens right at the door of Vaikuntha. So the personalities on both sides are so exalted, and the location is also right at the border of Vaikuntha, or right at the gates of Vaikuntha, but still a misunderstanding happens. So if a misunderstanding can happen even among such great Vaishnavas, then what to speak of for us here in Kali Yuga, which is titled as the age of quarrel, where quarreling can just happen just at a slight provocation. So in this pastime we see that disagreements amongst devotees can happen, and especially so for us, we're in Kali Yuga, and we're not exalted Vaishnavas like Jay and Vijay and the four Kumaras. We've just been practicing bhakti for a few years, couple of years, 10 years max. So amongst us, there's even more chance of misunderstandings, disagreements, and ruffling of feathers amongst devotees. But the important thing Rajana Prabhu was mentioning is how this whole situation was solved. It was solved by Vishnu. When Vishnu enters, everything becomes solved. And now in these verses we're hearing about the glorious beauty of the Lord. Specifically in yesterday's purport, Prabhupada was focusing on the smile of Lord Vishnu. When Vishnu enters into the scene with his beautiful lotus smile, and the four Kumaras, they take darshan of the beautiful smile of Vishnu. When Jay and Vijay, they take darshan of the beautiful smile of Vishnu. Both the parties, they become completely pacified. Initially, Jay and Vijay, they're agitated. Who are these persons just entering without permission? So their minds and consciousness are agitated. On the other side, the four Kumaras are also agitated. How are these guys stopping us? Prabhupada in his purport explains that although the four Kumaras are the oldest persons in the universe, they're very childlike. They have this childlike innocence. They don't have any duplicity. They're very simple personalities. And Prabhupada explains, just like children, they don't understand what's trespassing. They don't understand, okay, this is this person's property, this is that person's property. They just go here and there. They're just very simple-minded. Wherever they like, they just go and just play with their friends. They can't think, okay, this place is out of bounds, or this place is not where children should go. They just go here and there, being very simple-minded. So Prabhupada is explaining in this purports that the four Kumaras were just like little innocent children. And they were just going freely past all the gates. They wouldn't stop. Then finally, at the final gate, there's this two personalities stopping them. So naturally they get a bit upset, like, how come you're stopping us? We're here to see the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada is explaining in his purport that this anger is not material, selfish anger. It's not anger because of someone impeding one's sense gratification. This anger was someone impeding our devotional service. We're here to take darshan of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. We want to take darshan and serve the Supreme Lord, and you are impeding our devotional service. You're getting in the way of our bhakti. In that mood, Prabhupada explains, the anger of 4 Kumaras was demonstrated. It wasn't the ordinary anger of ours. When someone stops our sense gratification, we get angry. So in this way, both sides were agitated. Jay and Vijay, they were agitated, and the 4 Kumaras were also agitated. But as soon as Lord Vishnu walks in and just wonderfully smiles, just by seeing the wonderful beauty of Vishnu, Jay and Vijay, they become completely pacified, and the 4 Kumaras also, they just become completely mesmerized by the Lord's beauty, they also get pacified. So in this way, Rajana Prabhu was mentioning yesterday that any disagreement we have amongst Vaishnavas, misunderstandings, it can all be resolved simply if we bring Shri Shri Radha Gopinath into the picture. If we put Krishna in the middle, if we put Gopinath in the middle or Srila Prabhupada in the middle, we can overcome all disagreements. We should always be thinking, okay, how is Shri Shri Radha Gopinath benefiting out of this? If I have an argument with this devotee, if I have a disagreement, fight with this devotee, is Gopinath benefiting? Is he going to be happy? No. It's not helping bring happiness to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. It's not helping us push forward the movement. It's not pleasing to Prabhupada. So what is the use of it? It's just simply an anartha, unwanted thing. So let us cooperate amongst ourselves and solve this issue. Prabhupada also, he said that our love for him will be shown by how well we cooperate amongst each other. So if we bring simply Srila Prabhupada into the middle, or we bring Shri Shri Radha Gopinath into the middle at all times, places and circumstances, we can overcome all misunderstandings and disagreements that are bound to happen, especially in this age of quarrel or the age of Kali Yuga. Amongst us who are all, just beginning neophyte devotees. We're not exalted devotees like Jain, Vijay, 4 Kumaras, so naturally it's bound that there'll be misunderstandings amongst us in Kali Yuga. But if we always keep Srila Prabhupada and Shri Shri Radha Gopinath in the forefront, we can overcome all of these misunderstandings. Like Kamsari Prabhu, he was given an example recently of how during Prabhupada times, whenever any 2 devotees, 2 Vaishnavas, they would have a little disagreement or a fight with each other, the way they would resolve it is they would come up to each other, offer obeisances, and also chant out loud Srila Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra. Why would they chant out loud Srila Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra? Just to remind themselves that, okay, we're all sons of Srila Prabhupada, we're all disciples of Srila Prabhupada. What is the purpose of our existence? The purpose of our existence is to please Srila Prabhupada and to render valuable service to push forward Srila Prabhupada's movement. If we continue fighting, having disagreements amongst us, then how will our Prabhupada, how will Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's movement advance? So in this way, devotees, during Prabhupada's times, they used to bow down to each other and chant Srila Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra. So this is something I was meditating on yesterday when Prabhu was mentioning this in class, how we can solve all problems by simply taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. And I was thinking yesterday, we went to Mount Druid to distribute books, and this point Prabhu was mentioning that, okay, you have 4 Kumaras, they agitated, you have Jay and Vijay, they agitated, they're having a clash, but as soon as Vishnu comes in, everything gets resolved. So the solution to all problems is Vishnu or Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. And I was thinking, when Prabhu was mentioning it, because I distribute books, so I always try and connect it to my service. So I was thinking that actually everyone out there, they're also in distress, just like Jay and Vijay, they're having a clash with 4 Kumaras. In the same way, people out there, they're either having a clash with their wife or their husband or with their boss at work, they're having a clash with their neighbors, they're having a clash with their children, with their family members, so on and so forth. So everyone out there, they're having clashes with each other. Everyone else out there are having distress, stress, and anxiety. So what is the real way we can help them? Just like here, we're seeing the solution was Vishnu entering in and just simply smiling. And just by seeing the smile of Vishnu, everyone gets pacified. So in the same way, I was thinking, that smile of Vishnu, the smile of Krishna is actually non-different from Krishna book, which we distribute every day. We hear from the Acharyas that the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is the smiling face of the Lord. So the 4 Kumaras, Jay and Vijay, they just simply saw the smiling face of the Lord, they got pacified. They forgot everything. They were fully happy and peaceful. Same way, the actual solution to every single person's anxieties and distress out there in Sydney is Krishna book. Because Krishna book is what? Krishna book is the same thing, is the same smiling face of the Lord that Jay and Vijay saw. Krishna book is the same smiling face of the Lord that the four Kumars saw. And just like the four Kumars and Jay and Vijay were pacified, suddenly all the people out there in Sydney, they can be pacified of all their anxieties and miseries simply by getting a Krishna book. So I was meditating on this yesterday while we were driving to Mount Druitt, and then when we hit the streets, and then I was openly just putting the book in people's hand and just telling them, meditating on this point, that, take this book, this has very nice ancient stories of India. You read this book, all your problems, whatever problems you have in life, will all be gone. This book will bring you real happiness. Whenever you're stressed out, whenever you have any difficulty with your wife, this and that, you just read this book. These beautiful stories will completely make you forget all your miseries, will make you happy. So like this, I was just going person to person, just saying this. So it's a very important point that we all remember, both for ourselves and also in how we can help others also. So for ourselves, it's needed that we read Krishna book, take shelter of the Shastras. My Guru Maharaj, he always mentions that all of us, we should have some way of how we soothe our hearts, how we soothe our consciousness. Because while we're engaged in devotional service in the material world, many times difficulties will come, different things will come that will trouble our mind and consciousness. So all of us, we need to have a particular type of activity, spiritual activity in bhakti, that we take shelter of at times of need. And my Guru Maharaj mentions that for different devotees, different things soothe their heart. For some devotees, maybe coming and singing some bhajan or kirtan in front of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, that soothes the heart. For others, it can be reading Bhagavatam, reading Krishna book. For others, it could be listening to some nice lecture about the Lord. So if all of us, we're different, so different things hit our heart, different things soothe ourselves, but we should all have something to take shelter of whenever Maya attacks us, whenever the illusory energy attacks us. My Guru Maharaj also says that when Maya punches you, when Maya hits you, you should punch Maya back. You shouldn't just stay there and say, oh no, Maya is hitting me, oh no, Maya is smashing me, oh I'm so fallen. No. When Maya is coming straight to you and punching you, you just punch Maya back. What does punching Maya back mean? So say something bad hits our mind, some bad thoughts come. Then Maya is trying to bring us down. So we punch Maya back. We tell Maya, okay, you're doing this to me. Now I'm going to sit down here and chant, all my rounds in one go. Okay, you're doing this to me. Okay, now I'm going to sit down and read Bhagavatam for 1 hour straight, non-stop. Okay, you're doing this to me. Now I'm going to go to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath temple and I'm going to go and take darshan of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath and sing in front of them and dance in front of them. So in this way, in different ways, we should punch Maya back when Maya attacks us. Another thing I was hearing recently is about how we should be growing in bhakti. There is internal growth and there is external growth. I forgot who was saying this or which lecture I heard this, but it struck me. It was very nice. And this Prabhu was giving the example of a tree. So you put a seed into the ground and the plant or the creeper starts growing. And any tree, any plant grows in two ways. One is the external growth, which everyone can see. Externally you can see the tree is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. You can see different flowers are coming. You can see different fruits are coming. You can see how the tree is becoming more vast and vast and vast. So that's the external growth. How the tree is becoming bigger, how flowers are coming, how fruits are coming. But there is also the internal growth of the tree, which is hidden, which no one can see. And what is that? That's the roots of the tree. The internal growth is equally as important as the external growth, if not more. Because if the tree is only going externally, taller and taller and taller, but internally the roots aren't going deeper and deeper and deeper, and if the roots are very shallow, then during the time of storm, during a hurricane or a big thunderstorm, the tree will be uprooted, the tree will fall down. So in the same way, this Prabhu was mentioning that as we grow in bhakti, we need to ensure that internally we're also growing deeper and deeper and deeper along with external growth. What is external growth? External growth means we take up more and more services, more and more responsibilities in Srila Prabhupada's movement. Initially we come to a temple just once a week, just do service for half an hour, 1 hour. There's no responsibility. We can come in anytime, we can leave anytime. There's no obligation. And if we don't come, there's no problem. So initially we're not taking any responsibility. But as we grow in bhakti, as the years go by, we should take more and more responsibilities. We should start up bhakti vrikshas, preach, make new devotees for Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, train people in preaching, train people in distributing books, train people into how to cook feasts, to make garlands, to do deity worship, so on and so forth. So as we grow in bhakti, we need to take up more and more responsibilities for Srila Prabhupada. That is the duty of every disciple. The duty of every disciple is to take the burden from the shoulder of the spiritual master. The spiritual masters, they have taken up so much responsibility in Sri Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. And they need more and more followers to assist them in their preaching work. So the disciple, he is supposed to assist his spiritual master in his mission by reducing the burden, by taking more and more responsibility. So that's external growth. As the years go by, we take up more and more responsibilities, more and more services. But equally as important as that is our internal growth. If we don't grow internally deeper and deeper, then although externally we're taking up so many services, becoming bigger and bigger of a devotee, if we're not going deeper and deeper in our chanting, our reading and hearing, then just like at the time of a storm, the tree can be uprooted, same way, during difficult times, we can also get swayed away, we can also come down. So this internal growth is something which we can overlook, because as I was saying, the external growth of the tree is something that everyone can perceive, but the internal growth is always hidden, no one can see. So that's why it's very easy to overlook, or to forget, or to sideline. But that's just as equally important. So along with taking more and more services and responsibilities in Srila Prabhupada's movement, it is our duty also to go deeper and deeper into chanting our japa. It is also our responsibility as disciples, Siksha disciples of Srila Prabhupada, to go deeper and deeper in reading Srila Prabhupada's books, in singing and dancing in front of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, deeper and deeper in the consciousness in which we do whatever services we have. We can be doing deity worship, we can be doing preaching, we can be doing book distribution, but no matter what services we're taking shelter of, no matter whatever services we're taking responsibility of, it is our duty to go deeper and deeper into that service, go deeper and deeper into a sadhana. In this way, we will grow holistically as a devotee. So externally we're taking responsibility, but also internally we're becoming stronger and stronger by going deeper and deeper in our hearing and chanting. So this was one point I was meditating on yesterday. And another thing in yesterday's purport that really struck me, I'll read out, I've underlined it here. So this is in yesterday's purport. Prabhupada's mentioning the Lord being equal to all and being especially inclined to his devotee, looked as mercifully at the offenders as at the offended. So Prabhupada in yesterday's purport, he is saying that Krishna or Vishnu, when he enters the scene, he looked as mercifully at the offenders as he did at the offended. So this point really struck me yesterday, because generally speaking, if you have two parties and one party is the villain or one party is the one who did the offense and the other persons are the innocent persons who are being offended or being harassed, then naturally one would think one will give more favoritism to the person who is being offended, and one will, very heavily chastise and punish the person who is committing the offense. But Prabhupada is explaining yesterday's purport that actually Krishna is the all-loving Supreme Lord, and everyone is Krishna's children, and Krishna loves everyone equally. And because Krishna loves everyone equally, he never hates anyone. Everyone is his part and parcel, everyone is his children. And that's why Krishna was mercifully looking at both the offenders and the offended equally. And I was trying to meditate on this point. And I was thinking of the story of Durvasa Muni and Maharaj Ambrish. That's another example, on one side we have Ambarish Maharaj. He's the innocent victim. He's being offended by Durvasa Muni. He's being chastised, harassed by Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni, he's the one who's the villain. And Durvasa Muni, he goes to Vishnu. And Vishnu, he could have just told Durvasa Muni that, sorry, you did this offense, now you just have to suffer the consequences, there's nothing I can do. Vishnu could have just left it at that. But no, Vishnu, he takes the time to preach to Durvasa Muni to help him overcome his anartha. He gives a series of beautiful, beautiful verses glorifying the positions of his devotees. And Vishnu also gives Durvasa Muni the solution of how we can get out of his Vaishnava pride. Vishnu personally instructs Durvasa Muni that the way you overcome is you go to Ambarish Maharaj, you bow down at his lotus feet, and you can overcome your offense. And Vishnu personally takes time out to preach to Durvasa Muni. Why? Because Prabhupada is mentioning in Krishna's eyes, everyone is his children. And the father, he loves all of his children equally. The naughty child and the well-behaved, sincere child, the father loves equally. So although one of the children might be very naughty, doing bad things, still the father's love for that child never goes away. Still the father is also always thinking about the benefit of that particular naughty child. So in this case, when Durvasa Muni is coming, Vishnu, he doesn't have any hatred or ill feelings towards Durvasa Muni. But Vishnu is thinking, okay, this is one of my naughty children, he has this bad habit of being very proud and arrogant and offending Vaishnavas, thinking himself very great. He's envious of another devotee of mine, Ambarish Maharaj. How can I help this person? So this is the mood of Vishnu. He is always just thinking of how he can benefit for us. So Vishnu, he is looking at Durvasa Muni also with eyes of love. Just like the parent, he also looks upon the naughty children with love. Same way Vishnu is also looking at Durvasa Muni with love, and he's thinking, how can I help Durvasa Muni? Okay, what is his problem? His problem is this: he doesn't understand the high level of my devotees. So what I'll do, I will preach to him about the glories of my devotees. Then Vishnu, he starts his Bhagavatam class to Ambarish Maharaj. He explains to him that, okay, Durvasa Muni, you have studied the Shastras, you're a great yogi, and in the Shastras you have understood that I am the supreme independent Lord. But although the Shastras repeatedly again and again say that I am independent, actually Durvasa Muni, to be honest, I am not independent. I am completely dependent on the will of my devotees. In this way, Vishnu, he puts his devotees on a higher level than him. Then the next verse, again he glorifies devotees by telling Durvasa Muni, you have also heard in the Shastras that I am Atma Rama, that I am self-satisfied. I don't need anything else for my enjoyment. I can just enjoy myself. But actually, Durvasa Muni, to tell you the truth, to experience the topmost bliss, to experience maximum happiness, actually I am dependent on the association of my devotees. Without the Sangha of my devotees, I can't experience maximum happiness. This is how important my devotees are to me. Then finally he says the famous verse, Sadhavo Hridayam Sadhavo Hridayam Taham, that the devotees are always in my heart and I am always in the heart of my devotees. I don't know anything else but my devotees, and my devotees don't know anything else but me. So in this way, Vishnu, he takes time out to preach to Durvasa Muni and to help him get out of his anartha. So this is the mood of Vishnu. He loves everyone and is always just thinking of everyone's benefit. And occasions where we see Vishnu punishing or Krishna punishing someone due to a particular Vaishnava prad, like we've been hearing recently a lot of classes about Vaishnava prad, of the severe consequences of offending devotees. And many times the consequences are very heavy. But we need to understand that these punishments that Krishna gives to persons who offend his devotees, this punishment is given in a mood of love. Just like a parent, when the parent punishes the naughty child, it's not done as the punishment of just some ordinary person on the street, but it's done out of great love and affection by the parent for the well-being of the child. A child is behaving very naughty, the parent will give some punishment. Okay, you go to the naughty corner and you have to sit there for 1 hour. Or no PlayStation for you for 1 week. or you can't leave the house after, so and so. So these punishments the parents, they give to the children, it's not done out of any hatred or out of any grudge or any ill feeling. The parent still has great deep love and affection for the child, and whatever punishment the parent is giving is done out of love and concern for the well-being of the child. So in the same way, whenever Krishna, Vishnu, he gives these severe reactions to persons who offend his devotees, Vishnu is doing that out of love, to help that person overcome that anartha. It's done just in the same mood as a parent does for his child. So this is what Prabhupada is trying to help us understand, that Vishnu looked as mercifully at the offenders as at the offended. So Krishna is not holding any grudge against anyone, but Krishna, he loves every single living entity equally. And at times when he sees that Krishna is punishing someone, that punishment is also love. That punishment is also Krishna's love and affection. And Krishna is doing that to help that person overcome his anartha. And we see that with this example of Durvasa Muni. Krishna could have just let Durvasa Muni go, just say, sorry, I can't help you, and Krishna could have just minded his own business. But he personally takes time out to preach. Krishna is saying, okay, his problem is he doesn't understand the value of my devotees. So Krishna, he personally takes time and very patiently, step by step, preaches to Durvasa Muni about the glories of his devotees. And he even takes time out to give Durvasa Muni the solution. Okay, the way you overcome, okay, now you understood about the importance of my devotees, so okay, you won't do it in the future. Now the current offense you did, the way you overcome it is you go to Ambarish Maharaj, you bow down, this way you can mitigate the offense. So nicely, so lovingly, just like on the other side, Ambarish Maharaj, Krishna is protecting him from the demon by sending the Sudarshan Chakra. At the same time, Krishna is equally affectionate to Durvasa Muni and also protecting Durvasa Muni from his pride and arrogance by preaching to him. So in this way, Krishna, Prabhupada explains, is equal to everyone. To his devotees, he gives his mercy, and even to the atheists, the demons, the blasphemers, the offenders, Krishna also loves them, and Krishna is also concerned about them, and Krishna is also helping them come out of their anarthas. And sometimes the way Krishna helps them is by punishing them. But that punishment is done out of love, just like a parent. He very lovingly, or out of great concern for the child, will give some punishment. So as representatives of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, it is our duty to also imbibe this same mood of Krishna. Because it is the duty of the servant to see the mood of the master. And whatever the mood of the master is, the servant is supposed to go in line with that. So by reading the Shastras, we can understand what is the mood of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. Then as aspiring to be ideal servants of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, we also need to go in the same line, in the same mood of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. Okay, we hear in the Shastras that Krishna's mood is that he is feeling great pain and suffering, seeing all the fallen conditioned souls suffering in this material world. So the servant, he understands, okay, this is the concern of my master. So if I want to please my master, if I want to give maximum happiness to my master, I need to go and reclaim more and more fallen conditioned souls and bring them to the lotus feet of my master, then Krishna will be very happy. In the same way, in this purport, Prabhupada is helping us understand Krishna's mood is that he is all-loving God, he doesn't hate anyone. He loves the devotee, and he also loves the very person who's offending his devotee also. He doesn't hate anyone, he doesn't hold any grudge against anyone. Whatever he does is out of great love and concern. So if this is Krishna's mood, if this is the mood of our master, we also need to have the same mood, and we also need to have that vision of equality. We should never hold any grudge against anyone, never have any ill feelings towards anyone, but see everyone in connection with Sri Sri Radha Gopinath as all parts and parcels of Radha Gopinath. Even the most envious, demoniac atheists we might come across, we should still treat them equally, see the good in them, and see them in relationship to Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. Because at the end of the day, everyone, every single person in this universe are all originally an eternal associate of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath in the spiritual world. Just temporarily, they have fallen down and they're suffering here in this material world. His Holiness Radha Maharaj, he says that we should hate the disease, not hate the diseased person. Because it's not the person's fault, he's diseased and is acting like this. It's the disease which has overcome that person. Otherwise, in a normal circumstance, when the person is free of the disease, free of the madness, he will behave very nicely. So Radha Maharaj explains we should hate the disease and not hate the diseased person. We shouldn't hold any personal ill feelings towards anyone. But just like Shri Shri Radha Gopinath are equally looking upon everyone, in the same way we should have that vision of equality. Then we will be an ideal servant of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. So, coming to today's verse, this verse is continuing glorifying the beauty of Vishnu that the four Kumaras and Jay and Vijay are observing. I'll read the translation again. He was adorned with a girdle that shone brightly on the yellow cloth, covering his large hips, and he wore a garland of fresh flowers, which was distinguished by humming bees. His lovely wrists were graced with bracelets, and he rested one of his hands on the shoulder of Garuda, his carrier, and twirled a lotus with another hand. Prabhupada in the purport, he writes, here is a full description of the personality Godhead as personally experienced by the sages. And Prabhupada has explained in the purport that whenever we hear descriptions of Vaikuntha or the spiritual world, and we hear of Krishna or Vishnu wearing a garland of flowers, there will always be a description of bees humming around that garland of flowers, either around Krishna or Krishna's devotees. So these bees are said in the Shastras to be devotees of the Supreme Lord, and these bees are constantly singing and chanting the glories of the Lord, singing and chanting Krishna Katha. One thing I was hearing recently about hearing and chanting, so we have these two things, hearing about Krishna and chanting about Krishna. Out of these two things, although both are equally important, in one sense, the Shastras emphasize hearing more than chanting. In fact, it's given in 10th canto, Sukadeva Goswami, he explains that we can judge our advancement in spiritual life by how eager we are to hear about Krishna. Because hearing is always more difficult than chanting. One very simple example is of japa. During japa, Prabhupada explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita, two senses are engaged. One is the tongue is engaged in pronouncing the mantra out loud. The second sense which is engaged is the ears. So with the tongue, we're supposed to pronounce the mantra very nicely and distinctly, Prabhupada says. Then with our ears, what is the function of the ears during japa? We have to hear very attentively each and every syllable. Okay, so these two senses are engaged in japa. One is tongue is engaged in chanting, and ears are engaged in hearing. Now during japa, when it comes to the tongue doing its service of chanting the mantra clearly and distinctly, 95%, 99% of the holy names we're chanting nicely, without mispronouncing the holy names. So we're able to get the chanting the mantra out loud properly right very easily. But when it comes to hearing attentively the holy name, that is the part which we all find difficult, right? When it comes to chanting the mantra, pronouncing it nicely, 95%, 99% of the holy names we chant very distinctly, nicely. But when it comes to hearing attentively each and every syllable, it's not 99%, it's on the other end of the spectrum. Very, very difficult. No matter how hard we try, every day it's a challenge. So the challenge is in the ears. The challenge isn't in the tongue. So in this way, we can understand that hearing is always more difficult than chanting. That's why Sukadeva Goswami in 10th canto of Bhagavatam, my Guru Maharaj, he was giving one class on this verse, and he was sharing this nice verse from 10th canto where Sukadeva Goswami is glorifying Parikshit Maharaj. So this glorification we'll see again and again in Srimad Bhagavatam. Not only will the hearer of Bhagavatam glorify the speaker, thanking him for giving Krishna Katha, but also the speaker of Bhagavatam will glorify the listener, thanking him for being such a sincere listener to Srimad Bhagavatam. So there's gratitude both ways. There's gratitude from the hearer to the speaker, and there's gratitude from the speaker's side to the hearers. So in 10th canto of Bhagavatam, in one nice verse, Sukadeva Goswami, he explains to Parikshit Maharaj, offering his gratitude by telling Parikshit Maharaj that, my dear Parikshit, there is one quality of a Paramahamsa, or there is one quality by which you can judge who is a Paramahamsa, or who is the topmost devotee of the Lord. What is that one quality by which one can observe who is the topmost devotee of the Lord? Sukadeva Goswami explains that if a particular devotee has heard the pastimes of the Lord many times, and then hears that same pastime again, but hears that same pastime again in the mood of having never heard it before, that quality itself is the qualification of being a Paramahamsa. Meaning, Sukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj that actually whatever I'm speaking to you, Parikshit Maharaj, you've already heard many times before. All these pastimes of the Lord, all this glorification of the Lord, you've heard so many times, many, many times in your life. But even though you've heard these pastimes so many times, when I'm speaking these same pastimes again, you are pretending or you're acting as if you've never heard these pastimes ever before. The pastimes of the Lord, it's feeling so fresh and new that it's as if you never heard these pastimes. And Sukadeva Goswami explains that if any particular person has this one quality, then that person, that particular devotee is Paramahamsa. That particular devotee is the topmost devotee of the Lord. What is the qualification? The qualification is that although we have repeatedly heard the pastimes of the Lord numerous times, still when we come and sit in Bhagavatam class, and when we hear the same pastime again, if we are feeling that pastime to be ever fresh, if we are hearing in a mood of we've never heard this before, if we are hearing the pastimes of the Lord with that enthusiasm, with that vigor, with that enthusiasm, then Sukadeva Goswami says, that is the qualification of a Paramahamsa. And my dear Parikshit, I am seeing that qualification in you. Therefore, you, Maharaj Parikshit, you are a Paramahamsa, you are the topmost devotee of the Lord. So many times before you have heard all these pastimes, but although you've heard these pastimes so many times before, still you're with such eagerness, with such enthusiasm, with such attention, fasting for 7 days and night, you're hearing with such rapt attention as if you've never heard this before. Because you're hearing so nicely, you are a Paramahamsa, you're the topmost devotee of the Lord. So in this way, the Shastras explained again and again that we judge our spiritual advancement by how eager we are to hear the pastimes of the Lord. If we are very eagerly and enthusiastically hearing the glories of the Lord, with that eagerness, with that enthusiasm, we can judge our spiritual advancement. So again, hearing about Krishna is always more difficult than chanting about Krishna. It's much easier to just sit in Vyasasana and to just speak and just get people to listen to you. It's much harder to be in the audience and listen to Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is something we should focus on. We should focus on cultivating more and more attachment to hearing about Krishna. And as I was mentioning before, as we grow externally in bhakti, we should also be going deeper and deeper internally in bhakti, which means we should go deeper and deeper in chanting a japa, deeper and deeper in studying Srimad Bhagavatam, deeper and deeper in our relationship with Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, deeper and deeper in our relationship with the devotees of the Lord, deeper and deeper with our relationship with our spiritual master, deeper and deeper with our relationship with Srila Prabhupada, deeper and deeper in our relationship with Srimati Tulsi Marni, so on and so forth. Then if we're doing like this, then externally, whatever services, responsibilities we take, we'll be able to do that nicely also. Okay, I'll stop here. Antaraj, just... No. So once someone is liberated, they don't fall down. And this particular instance of Jay and Vijay is a unique example. Prabhupada explains that this was arranged by the Lord for the sake of his pastimes. So as some devotees have been mentioning in previous classes, it's not that Jay and Vijay always fall down, in different cycles to take birth as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, so on and so forth. But in this particular case, Jay and Vijay, they come down for the pastimes of the Lord. The Supreme Lord, He wants to have a good fight, so only a devotees can give a good fight to the Supreme Lord. So Jay and Vijay, for the sake of pastime, they come down. And also we are hearing in recent classes how Jay and Vijay, they had this desire to see the fighting pastimes of the Lord. And Krishna, He wanted to satisfy that particular desire of His devotees. So Krishna, He arranges for them to come down. So it's not a fall down, it's just for the sake of pastimes they're coming down. Just like the eternal associates of the Supreme Lord, they descend down into the material world to preach and to propagate the Sankirtan movement. In the same way, we see Jay and Vijay coming down to the material world. Okay.
In synonyms, it's mentioned Vanamalaya, the garden of fresh flowers. Is it like forest flowers, or as mentioned in the 19th shloka, Lord Narayana is indeed wearing tulsi leaves on it?
You can take it as both. So it's not that Krishna can only have one garland, He can have multiple garlands. He can have one nice garland of flowers, and then He can have another garland of tulsi. So,
Because the humming bees are, I believe, usually attracted to tulsi leaves.
also to flowers.
And just one more thing, what you mentioned at the end. So what version of Srimad Bhagavatam was Parikshit hearing before he heard from Shukadeva Goswami? Had he had access to Srimad Bhagavatam before?
He would have heard the pastimes of the Lord from his parents, from his uncles, from the great sages. So he would have heard the glories of the Lord from different sources. Yes.
Towards the end, we were mentioning about qualifications of Brahma himself, somebody who hears the same pastime with so much eagerness as if they are hearing it for the first time. We also hear from Shastras that these are all discussing about the uncommon pastimes of the Supreme Lord, and by nature, if you see Sandipan Muni's move to Krishna and Balaram, that whatever they speak will actually be ever fresh. So actually the quality of the Shastric sound vibration itself is ever fresh. What is it that's making us to not feel that freshness? Actually, we should be surprised why we are not feeling fresh, correct? Because by definition, Shastric intention means it's supposed to be fresh, according to Shastras themselves. What is it that's stopping us from tasting that freshness every time?
Thank you for the question. So, question is that by nature Krishna's pastimes are ever fresh. So what is it that's stopping us from tasting that ever freshness of Krishna's pastimes or holy names, so on and so forth? So the verse from Nectar of Instruction comes to mind, where Srila Rupa Goswami is explaining that Krishna's holy name is the most sweetest candy. But just like a person who is overcome by the disease of jaundice, although the nature of Sunga candy is that it's supposed to be sweet, but because he has this covering of disease of jaundice, when he's putting that sweet nectar in his mouth, it's not tasting sweet, it's tasting bitter. So the solution to the disease is, you just keep on taking the sugar candy, and slowly after time, the disease of jaundice will go away, and one can taste the actual sweetness. So in the same way, Srila Rupa Goswami explains that yes, Krishna's pastimes are supposed to be ever fresh, Krishna's holy name is supposed to be the sweetest nectar, but when we pick up bhakti, many times we're not able to taste that sweetness or the ever freshness. And that is due to the disease of avidya or ignorance. And the remedy for this disease of avidya, ignorance is, just like the remedy for jaundice is, you keep on taking the sugar candy, and after some time, the disease will go away, then you can actually taste the sweetness. So same way the remedy for us to overcome the disease of avidya or ignorance is, we have to daily keep on hearing the pastimes of Lord, keep on chanting again and again, keep on hearing Bhagavatam again and again. Slowly, after some time, the